Not far enough for too long. In a surprisingly uninformed pre-concert talk, we were told that Appomattox by Philip Glass is remarkably close to history. A great deal of research went into it, and it is very accurate, unquote. If you are going to put history to music, pledging allegiance to accuracy is not necessarily going to guarantee a work of art. I have seen accurate details ruin glorious musical moments, Dr. Atomic being a case in point. When Oppenheimer is singing the keynote aria, grappling with the myriad ramifications of splitting the atom, John Adams' score reaches up and out, scouring the inner and outer heavens for meaning. Having 40 men in work clothes scurrying back and forth across the stage with cooking pots and thigh-sized ladles may be historically accurate, since even at Los Alamos, people had to eat. But there was nothing in the music to suggest such activity, and it was disruptive of Adams' score, which was intergalactic at its smallest. One of my few Peter Sellers disappointments. Recently, there is a trend of composing operas based on historical events and linking them to the present. So war is a natural. We seem to have a need for bridges to war. Any war will do. We need to feel like we are connecting, perhaps because we're not connecting to Iraq. Philip Glass is one of the most popular American composers, and I can see why, given the state of popular taste. Now he will probably become even more so. This is not a negative impression. Scene 3 of Act 1 was DJ music at its best, and I'm an ardent DJ fan. He would timidly reach out to explore a musical idea, think better of it, and stay put. And stay, and stay. This has nothing to do with the so-called minimalist style, a term I have always abhorred, maximalist seeming much more fitting, and the several truly grand musical moments rose like opulent islands from a glass Sargasso sea. For some reason, these islands of brilliance never coincided with one of the larger ensemble pieces through which we sat, marooned on a raft. There was no pacing, and singers waited around with nothing to do as a piece wound down in the kind of self-importance only composers can inflict. The orchestra intervals often did nothing musically, and that includes holding irresistibly still, which Glass can do exquisitely. He hardly even let himself do that. The feeling was that he was playing it safe. Very safe. So much of it fell flat as yesterday's undercooked corn cake. This was not about darkness. It was about vacuum and the inability to reach. There were high moments, the meeting of Grant and Lee and their conversation. That was a crystal musical bell jar. Tight yet expansive. And what followed, the removal of Lee's chair, and then Grant's chair, until the entire house was dismantled as a musical edifice rose in its stead, mallet instruments and strings. Wondrous. Another highlight was the Dream aria. But that slave battalion, what color was that? The blood was a watery, pasty pink, pure musical comedy, and not Gershwin at that. I doubt that there is a black person then or now that could find any point of connection with this music. Even though Appomattox is supposedly showing the dark side of the Civil War, it remains a white man's vision. I'd like to see Alexander Thomas do a Civil War story. Not an opera, but another voice. I plan on returning for another performance next week. If anything changes, I'll certainly let you know. You can never say that glass is nothing. But last night, I often wished for something